The D-backs with the walk-off loss that is just a perfect microcosm of their season so far. To break it down, we got JD of Locked On Cardinals for a little crossover.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans and Diamondback fans. I'm JD Hafron, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio, and you can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us both on YouTube. Make sure you stop by our sites. Like, subscribe, and comment. Don't be shy. Interact with us and hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation, and tonight serving the Diamondbacks. And I don't know if you guys call it Snake Nation. I don't know what the nickname is, but we're here to give you all the info about what's going on between our two teams here. This episode brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I've got a competitive side. I'm sure Miller does too. And we're big fans of Monopoly Go. It's the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. So Cardinals and Diamondbacks back on the field against one another on Monday night. And before we get into what happened at Busch Stadium, I want to introduce my Locked On Cardinals audience in case you haven't seen Locked On Diamondbacks yet. Host Millard Thomas joining us for this crossover episode to talk about what happened tonight and what might happen in the rest of this series. But first and foremost, Millard, thanks for coming out and thanks for chit-chatting tonight. How are you, man, after tonight's victory for the Cardinals?
Yeah, tough game, but happy to do the first crossover with JD, the man over here. So excited to talk about the D-backs games in the other series and the other games in this series, because the first game of the series, not so fun for D-backs Nation.
Well, these two teams just saw each other, which is weird because we're in April. And Cardinals are in the NL Central, you're in the NL West, and now we're already meeting up for the second time this year, which is a little strange. Schedule a little bit wonky to get things moving here in 2024. But we were out in the desert about a week ago. D-backs took 2 of 3. In that first game, the Cardinals scored 9 runs, which is unheard of so far this year because their offense has just been poop. It was a season high for them. And then they got a lot of those runs against tonight's starter for Arizona and Brandon Pfaadt, who was really, really good tonight. Things were much different on Monday night in St. Louis, and it's been no secret that the Cardinals, they've been struggling offensively. They've been the worst offense in the National League, which has surprised a lot of people. And Pfaadt took full advantage of that, coming out of the gate. 4 perfect innings to start the game. What did you see out of Brandon tonight, and what did you like about what he was doing to the Cardinals?
Yeah, I love the first 5 innings of Brandon Pfaadt. He looked dominant. He looked locked in. That sweeper was moving. It looked like he had full command of all his pitches. And then I don't know what happened in that 6th inning, because all of a sudden he lost the command. He lost the control. He couldn't locate that curveball any longer. And it just kind of all went away for Brandon Pfaadt in that 6th inning as he walked 3 straight batters to load that 6th. And that's kind of where the game really flipped, right? Because Brandon Pfaadt, I thought this was going to be maybe a D-back start where he goes potentially 7 innings or more. Maybe the D-backs just cruise to victory. It's a ho-hum night. Maybe they win like 3-1 and it's just a quiet night. D-backs win. But instead, we get a classic D-backs game with the bullpen blows it, no late game offense, and Brandon Pfaadt, unfortunately, gives up the game in the 6th inning, and the bullpen does not help him out after the 6th either.
No, and I guess he just kind of ran out of gas. I don't know if the Cardinals getting to see him for a 3rd time, maybe they picked up on something because they were starting to lay off some of the pitches that were closer. But yeah, his command kind of went crazy, and things were very, very different after that. On the Cardinal side of things, you have Lance Lynn, which, by the way, Miller, what a body on Lance Lynn. Like when you see him out there, when you think of a professional athlete, Lance Lynn's body is the first thing you think of. You don't have to lie.
And thankfully, I'm grateful for that body that Lance Lynn has because Corbin Carroll does not get his only hit in this game if Lance Lynn does not look like that. Carroll beats him out on a grounder to first base.
Yeah, Lance Lynn is a thick man, and that those new uniforms don't do him any justice either. And but tonight and so far this season for the Cardinals, Lance Lynn has been that guy that's just battled. It's never been smooth and easy for him every time, but then you look up and you're like, wow, he really didn't get hammered as bad as we thought he was going to, because there was a couple of innings on Monday night where things could have really gotten out of hand. Like the Diamondbacks were threatening over and over, and he was able to limit the damage over 5 innings. He gives up 3 runs, 7 hits. He walks 3, which is something that, you get nervous when it comes to Lynn, because he's going to give up some hits and usually a couple of home runs. And if he starts putting free guys on, then he's really in trouble. But he gets the 7 strikeouts. So for Arizona, it kind of had to be frustrating for you guys to see, the constant people on base, and yet not a ton to show for it with only those 3 runs.
Yeah, I think that has to be the most frustrating part, is not capitalizing on those opportunities, because last year when the D-backs squared off against Lance Lynn in the postseason when he played for the LA Dodgers, the D-backs absolutely destroyed him last year. And Lance Lynn is someone that has, a tendency to give up the long ball from time to time. And this D-backs team, they added some much needed power to Eugenio Suarez. He had himself a good day, but we still haven't seen the power from the D-backs that we want to see from a home run standpoint. And I thought Lance Lynn was a good opportunity for the D-backs to maybe break that barrier a little bit. They weren't able to do that. I think the wait for Lance Lynn helps him rack up those 7 Ks, because I remember when CC Sabathia went through that diet where it was skinny CC, and I was like, man, he can only throw like 89 on his fastball. He started eating the crunch berries again, and it added all that velo back. So for Lance Lynn, as he's getting older, he probably needs to eat more to maintain that velo.
Yeah, I mean, he could drop 30 to 40 pounds and he'd still be a big man. He's just a hulking dude. And yeah, that was it was a little bit humorous, and I kind of felt bad for Lance Lynn on that play you mentioned where Corbin Carroll hits a ground ball to the first baseman. It's too far for Goldschmidt to run to first base to beat Carroll, who's one of the fastest guys in the league. Let's give him credit there. And poor Lance Lynn and he got a good break on that ball too. It's not like he was late trying to get there. He just couldn't catch him. He just couldn't. I mean, I don't know if you had to race Corbin Carroll with Lance Lynn. Like, I don't know what the lead would have to be for Lynn to even tie Corbin Carroll. But I felt really bad for him on that play because, big man trying to get over there, and he just didn't have it in him, man. He just couldn't do it. But you mentioned that after Fott's first 5 innings, he walks 3 guys to lead off that inning in the 6th inning. He ends up getting Wilson Contreras to pop out the shallow center field. And as Cardinal fans, we're sitting there going, oh, God, here we go again, because they have not been able to convert with guys and running with runners in scoring position all year. It's been terrible. It's been their kryptonite. And Lars Nootbaar, finally, somebody's able to come through. He lashes a 2-run single to left field, which ultimately ends Fott's night. Were you okay with them leaving him in to face Nootbaar, or did you think that maybe they should have gone to the pen earlier?
I was okay leaving Fott in, because going to the pen meant going to Scott McGuff, who has been a big issue for the D-backs this year. So Fott, I was okay with him working through the struggle. Obviously, he gives up the 2 earned run, and then McGuff immediately comes in and gets out of the jam for Fott. But then you see why I didn't want McGuff in the very next inning, when he does give up the game-tying home run to a Paul Goldschmidt. So really it was kind of a lose-lose situation for the D-backs, because it was either a reliever I didn't like, or is leaving Fott in that situation for a second-year guy who might have not been ready in that moment. And D-backs able to get out of the jam, but then it still cost them the very next inning, unfortunately.
Yes, it did. And we're going to talk about the big fly from Paul Goldschmidt. It was something that like a huge weight lifted off of not only him, but the Cardinals in general. So we'll talk more about that and how this one ended coming up next on this crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks. GameTime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app, they actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. This is something that I've been able to take advantage of over and over and over again, because it works. It works. If you just show a little bit of patience, you can watch those prices just drop. And it works out very nicely for you, for your checkbook. It's just fantastic. And Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets because of not only the last minute killer deals, but the all-in prices. You get the views from your seat and their lowest price guarantee. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. Now, if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and you can use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Today's episode also brought to you in part by Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the smarter way to buy insurance. Their proprietary technology, it makes it easy to compare personalized quotes and policies from top-rated insurers, and you can do it side by side. Policy Genius's team of licensed experts is here to answer questions. They'll handle the paperwork and help you make decisions with confidence. They work for you, not for the insurance companies. From exploring coverage options to making policy adjustments as your life changes, Policy Genius is your advocate at every step. And Policy Genius is committed to your information remaining secure. Your security is their top priority. They use industry-leading security practices to help keep your information safe. You can check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and have to turn down the volume because of the shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, and it's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions. You've got news, and it's streaming 24/7, so no matter what time of day you're able to watch, it's there for you on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now remember, because the Cardinals are at home right now, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Cardinals. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. Feel free to leave comments on YouTube, or you can hit either one of us up on Twitter X. You've got Millard's handle there below him on YouTube. You want to say it out loud for everybody in case they're just doing the audio version right now?
Yeah, please follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for the personal account, or just look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram, for the podcast handle.
All right, we're moving on to the seventh inning of Monday night's thriller at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Former D-back Paul Goldschmidt burns his former team, and he does it in a big way, Millard. He's got a monster shot, opposite field, 432 feet away, solo dinger. It ties things up. Goldie's struggles have been well documented. And finally, Paul Goldschmidt was able to barrel one, only his second extra base hit of the season, if you can believe that. His second home run, too. Hadn't hit one since opening day. And we actually got a smile out of Paul Goldschmidt in the dugout following that, Jack. Even as a D-backs fan, you had to feel a little bit good for him, right?
No, it still sucks. I know as a D-backs fan, it's supposed to feel a little good, but guess what? Paul Goldschmidt hasn't been on this team since 2019. It is his sixth season with St. Louis. He spent 8 years with the D-backs. He's almost no longer even a D-back just by the years he's already spent with St. Louis. So it's so far removed. The D-backs is coming off the World Series. I want to see them get back to the postseason, and you can't do that blowing games like this one. So even though we all have love in our heart for Paul Goldschmidt, one of the best D-back franchise players of all time, I would rather him strike out in that moment than hit the game time home run. You can hit home runs, Paul Goldschmidt, when you're down 10 runs, but you can't do it to tie the game up.
Well, on the Cardinals side of things, it was huge. It was like a weight lifted off of his shoulders, the Cardinals, the fans, because situations like that, that's what he has been doing most of the time, is striking out. He's been about as unclutch as you can get so far in 2024. And it hasn't been just him. I mean, it's been everybody. It's just been a tough go for this Cardinals offense. We're going to fast forward to the ninth inning.
I want to ask you actually, JD, real quick. How
Sure.
concerned are you with Paul Goldschmidt? Because we all know, like, the last few years, the first half has been more of a struggle for him, and he usually heats up throughout the season. So is there anything that you've seen this year that makes you feel a little bit differently about that? Because obviously the numbers right now aren't very good.
Yeah, the hard part for me is that we know things weren't great last year for him or the team. So I'm not gonna say that because his numbers were down a bit from the MVP season the previous year that I was all that concerned. But then when you saw him in spring training and he looked lost and things weren't getting any better, and now the first month of this season so far, he's looked lost and it hasn't really clicked for him. Looked better tonight, obviously, on that one swing. But what I've noticed from Paul Goldschmidt is he's not catching up to the fastball anymore, which is a scary thing for a guy who's getting older, because it's hard to get that bat speed back, and when it starts to deteriorate, you're in big trouble, because if you can't catch up to the fastball, they're only throwing it harder these days. They're not going to get any slower for you to have slider bat speed. And that's the thing I'm concerned about with him. It is his final year of his contract. I know they discussed trying to maybe give him an extension. They were thinking 1 or 2 years because of his advanced age. But he's not doing himself any favors right now by hitting the way he has. But at the same time, he's always been a slow starter. It's not like this is unheard of for him in April, even his MVP year. It's not like he came out of the gate hitting 450 or something. Like, it took some time, and then he lit it up for like 3-4 months in a row. So it's hard to say you're not concerned when a guy is 37 years old and the bat speed looks the way it is. But at the same time, you are thinking that after we get through the first couple of weeks positively, that he's going to hopefully return to the Paul Goldschmidt we've been used to over his entire career. So that's where we're at.
Okay. Do you have like the same feelings then when like Nolan Arenado too? Because both of them MVP candidates. I mean, obviously Paul won it 2 years ago. Arenado finished third, but both of them the last 2 years just seem to be in a steep decline. Arenado probably more than Goldie with how he played last year. But this year you would say, even though the OBP and slugging isn't there, at least he's hitting the ball for average. So how do you feel about Arenado compared to Paul Goldschmidt at their respective points?
The thing about Arenado last year is he was dealing with back problems. And we think that had a lot to do with, when was the last time you saw Arenado struggle playing defense, which is something he went through last year too. He had apparently some dead arm issues, and then the back issues were creeping up. And we never really know how bad they are, because both of those guys are dudes who are going to go out and try to play 162. They're not somebody who wants to take a day off. And then after the season got out of control, that's when Arenado was finally shut down. But I believe it more had to do with his injury than a lot of people knew. And, he was struggling early on too. Like, he started off spring training really well, and then he went into his funk, and we were using the term the broken Arenado again, like we did last year, where he just looked like he'd never swung a bat before. But over the last week and a half, he's definitely started to look a lot more like himself. Although the Diamondbacks handled him pretty well tonight. They got him to ground into a double play, and didn't really give up many hard hits against him. So I'm less concerned about Arenado due to him being 32, and I feel like more of what happened last year was with his health than anything else about the deterioration of skills in general, because he's looked great defensively, and I think that's kind of a key for him. If he's doing that, fine. The hitting will come around.
Yeah, I still feel like people look at those two as the two pillars in the team, but you guys got a nice young core. It seems like there's a little bit of a changing of the guard maybe going on in St. Louis. Yeah,
because we don't know how long Goldie's going to be around. Like, if this is the end and this is his last year, who is the next person to take up that mantle as part of the offense? There's some hope that Jordan Walker is going to be that guy, but he's had a horrible start to the year. Nolan Gorman, another guy that they want him to be more consistent. And he's had a tough start to the year, although tonight he did all right in his one at bat. We go to that ninth inning, and the game is still tied up. Goldie ends up being the first guy to get on base. He's the leadoff hitter, hits an absolute smash down the line to Suarez. Suarez has got a family to think about on balls like that, which we're kidding, because it traveled 1 foot minus 54 launch angle on the ground ball, infield single because Goldie still got those wheels, right? And that leads off the inning with a single. Arizona goes to Nelson in the bullpen to face Nolan Gorman. Lefty-lefty matchup. Were you okay with that, or is Nelson another one of those guys in your pen that has not been very good?
The issue is there's not really a lot of go-to guys in the pen right now, JD. So once Ryan Thompson was already looking shaky as the first guy, and he's like our second best reliever, once he stopped working out and then you had to throw in Kyle Nelson, we probably already knew the wheels were falling off at that point. So not a lot of options. Maybe we should have went to Kevin Ginkel right away. I don't know. I saw the logic there in case you went to extra innings, want to save a Kevin Ginkel. Hopefully Kyle Nelson could just get you out of it as the lefty on lefty matchup. But unfortunately, as we saw, Nelson gives up the long 2-run walk-off shot.
Yeah, this one was a no-doubter off the bat. And I'm over here watching on the MLB, and like they barely made it out of commercial in time. All you saw was the ball flying over the right field wall when they came back from commercial. I was like, what the hell is going on? I didn't know. I couldn't tell if it was like a highlight from some other game or something. I didn't know what the hell was happening. And I don't
even think they put like the score bug back on yet. Like they didn't
even have time and I was just like, oh my God, walk off. So yeah, 425 footer off of Nelson from Nolan Gorman. It was a slider, which I mean, just right down the pipe really. And he didn't miss it. And it was a no-doubter. They all knew it right away. 5-3 win, walk-off for the Cardinals. The Cardinals, the fans, hell, the city needed it, Millard. Like it snaps a 4-game losing streak and finally gave the Cardinals something to actually smile about. How about some takeaways from tonight's game on this crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks? What are some things that stood out to you on the Arizona side of things?
Yeah, I mean, 3 big takeaways. The first one is, of course, Brandon Pfaadt looked good the first 5 innings, but has to get better that third time through. Just seemed to lose gas, like you mentioned earlier in segment number 1. So want to see him finish games, go deeper. He's coming off a 7-inning start, so want to see more starts like that. Second, this game is basically a microcosm of what we've seen the D-backs issues be all season. Late game offense after the 6th, 7th inning has been a struggle all year. We saw once again, they were not able to convert opportunities and they were not able to score runs late in the game. And then the bullpen, most blown leads in Major League Baseball, I think, this season. They did it once again, from Castro to McGuff to Kyle Nelson. Even Ryan Thompson gave up an earned run. There's just really no one you can trust right now in this D-backs bullpen. Paul Sewald, we're recording this on Monday evening. He's supposed to be going on a rehab assignment Tuesday. So hopefully the D-backs can get him back right away because they desperately need him.
Curious about your thoughts on what's going on with Corbin Carroll, who, rookie of the year last year, one of the more exciting young players in the league, not exactly hitting what we thought he was going to. Are you concerned, and what's going on with him through your eyes as to why he might be struggling so far?
Yeah, Carroll just hasn't looked like the same guy right now at the plate. He's just kind of searching and looking for himself. He looked kind of lost out there. You could tell sometimes when he hits a pop-up or whatever, you could tell he's just searching and he's just really frustrated with every at-bat he has. He's just not really lifting the ball right now. A lot of ground balls in his arsenal. He has been awful against the fastball this season. So I don't know if it's like one of those sophomore slump second-year adjustments. I think Corbin Carroll is still an elite player, and he just has to find his way back to what worked for him last year. And I think Corbin Carroll will eventually do that, but he is right now kind of in the sunken place as a batter. And I'm hoping he can finally find his way out of it, because Corbin Carroll is so important to what the D-backs want to do offensively. He's got the power. He's, of course, got the speed, as we saw today. And it's a guy who's batting number 2 every single night for the D-backs. He's just not doing enough from that spot in the lineup right now.
Takeaways from the Cardinals side of things. Watching Paul Goldschmidt struggle, it's been painful for fans because everybody loves him. There's not a nicer guy in the league probably, and he's not an emotional guy. And you couldn't tell if he went 4 for 4 or he went 0 for 5. Like, he looks the same every single game. And it was really nice to finally see him come through, not once, but twice, the home run and also the leadoff dinker down the line at third base, which got things rolling for the walk-off possibility. Outstanding as a Cardinals fan to be able to see him do that and to see him crack a smile in the dugout, which is nice. First career walk-off home run for Nolan Gorman. He and the team needed that. 4th home run of the season. He now leads the club, which is, sad. the 4 is the team leader right now. Hitting home runs has not been an easy thing for the Cardinals. One of the lowest home run totals for a team in the league. So to get not 1 but 2 is champagne worthy. And then Lance Lynn battling in this one, as we mentioned earlier. Things could have gotten out of hand really bad. The Diamondbacks were constantly putting pressure on Lance Lynn. Guys were on the bases throughout the whole night. Like I mentioned, 7 hits, 3 walks. They were out there, but Lynn got 7 strikeouts, and then the bullpen for the Cardinals lights out again. Ryan Fernandez shutout inning, 2 Ks, ERA down to 3. Andrew Kittredge, another inning and a third of shutout ball. His ERA is now at 1. Jojo Romero, key double play ball in that 8th inning. He's down to 1.59. And then Helsley, your closer, shuts the door in the top of the 9th. And it looks like it's something that's going good for the Cardinals, not going so well for the Diamondbacks when it comes to the bullpen. Bullpen's been really good for the Cardinals. Not so much for the Diamondbacks so far. All right, we're going to move on and talk about tomorrow's game, Tuesday's game, depending on when you're listening to this. And we're also going to talk about the return of Jordan Montgomery to St. Louis. He's now a Diamondback, so he's going to make his return to St. Louis. So we'll get into that and more on this Locked On crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks. Now, I've been told I'm a competitive person, and I do have a competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side has become a big, big fan of Monopoly Go. And I'm sure you've heard of it. Odds are you probably downloaded it too, because guess what? It's been downloaded over 150 million times. And it's a great twist on Monopoly, where you play on not one, but hundreds of different Monopoly boards in crazy locations. You're building up amazing cities that bring you big money. And the best part is that you get to mess with your friends when you're playing together. You can charge them rent on iconic properties, just like in classic Monopoly. But now you can also make the heist and steal the vaults of riches for yourself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. Could be you. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and actually compete together and with people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game if you haven't already and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go. It's now free on the App Store or Google Play. Once again, Monopoly Go. Download it today. Now free on the App Store or Google Play. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, and it's covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. With the NFL draft coming up, I have been watching this channel a lot because they've been doing a lot of mock drafts and draft coverage, which is always really nice to get as much knowledge as you can before your team makes their selection coming up on Thursday night. So let's get back to baseball. Locked On Cardinals, Locked On Diamondbacks. Millard Thomas joining me today. Steven Matt set to go to the Hill for the Cardinals on Tuesday. Diamondbacks, so far, we're not sure exactly who's going to start, what's going on with the D-backs, and why is there nobody listed, Millard?
It's because, sadly, Merrill Kelly was scratched from his start on Sunday. We still don't know the official word on him just yet. I believe he was dealing, I guess, with some shoulder discomfort. I think we're still awaiting the MRI. I got to check on the results of that. But Merrill Kelly not making his start against the St. Louis Cardinals. So it will be Tommy Henry in his as his replacement for this game. Tommy Henry has already made a few starts for the D-backs this season, and it's been, probably more down than up, but Tommy Henry is a guy that can battle, can go out there, give you 5 solid innings, maybe 3 earned run ball. That's kind of the best case scenario. And going against a St. Louis Cardinals offense, like you mentioned, not the most potent this year, could be a good situation for Tommy Henry to maybe get his feet wet and finally build some confidence, but could also be a case for the St. Louis Cardinals to potentially break one open against one of the struggling starters for this Arizona Diamondbacks team.
Well, if they are going to win this series, as far as the Cardinals, getting a win tomorrow is probably going to be a little bit easier than what's in front of them on Wednesday when Jordan Montgomery makes his return to Busch Stadium. in an Arizona Diamondbacks uniform. If you remember, Jordan Montgomery, one of the better pitchers on the Cardinals staff last year, but the team was terrible. So at the trade deadline, they ship him to the Texas Rangers, and he goes off, wins a championship, a World Series with the Texas Rangers, best pitcher in the postseason for them, led them down the stretch. And then people thought he was going to land this monster deal somewhere, and it didn't really come to fruition that way. And lucky for the Arizona Diamondbacks, he lands in their lap. How excited were you about Jordan Montgomery signing with Arizona, and how big is it that they did get him and he's ready to go now, considering all of the injuries that are going on with your guys' starting rotation?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. First of all, super excited when we signed him because it was literally like the day before opening day, like on the 11th hour we signed him. We knew Erod going to the season was probably going to miss a little bit of time. So to get Jordan Montgomery to come in and be your number 3 starter, off the team that beat you in the World Series, like you mentioned, he was the Rangers' best pitcher all postseason. So we know what he can do on a big stage. And for the D-backs to add him to this rotation, add just a mid-rotation guy, riches on top of riches. And the fact that we now know Erod is moved to the 60-day injured list, Jordan Montgomery finally making his debut with the D-backs, could not come quick enough with guys like who we're going to see tomorrow, Tommy Henry, struggling this season. He was optioned so Jordan Montgomery could get called up. Jordan Montgomery looked phenomenal in his first start of the year. You wouldn't have even known it was his first start because of how good he looked. 6 innings, absolutely dominated the Giants this past week. So I'm very excited to see him once again against his former team in St. Louis. And why didn't the Cardinals potentially do a little flyer on Jordan Montgomery? Went out there, he signed $25 million to Sonny Gray. You got some other veteran starting pitchers. Like, why not just take the money they gave to Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson and just give it to Jordan Montgomery?
These are great questions, Miller, because that's what we were all wondering in St. Louis. We're like, okay, we could have understood. This was the thing in the offseason. The idea that we thought was that you go after Sonny Gray. He just seemed like a perfect Cardinal, and he wanted to come to St. Louis. It was something that he was excited about. So we thought that was a guy that was going to land there, but we were hoping that there was going to be another guy, another top 3 type of rotation guy. And instead they went out and get 2 4s, maybe 2 5s at best, considering the season Lance Lynn had just had. And everybody was scratching their heads like, what are we doing? Like, why aren't we going for that next level guy that could make a big difference? Like, if you line up a series, you want to have that kind of 1-2 punch going. And right now, the Cardinals, you have, Sonny Gray, who you trusted coming in as a Cy Young runner-up last year in the American League. And then it was kind of like, but the rest of the staff's just kind of meh. Like, why aren't we doing that? And then it shocked me that other teams that were, right there on the cusp of being a pretty good team weren't doing it either, specifically in the NL Central. I was shocked that, maybe the Cubs didn't go after him, that, the Reds or somebody else that is right there wouldn't have made a move for him. And he ends up going to the Diamondbacks. And I'm like, well, it's kind of a nice spot for him. And I think really what happened was that I don't think he wanted to come back to St. Louis. This is just my opinion. I have no facts that say that, but I think when they decided to not try to extend him in the offseason last year and instead gave their money to Miles Mikolas, he was like, all right, well, you had your chance. I'm going to go. And after seeing what the Cardinals did last year, who would you rather play for? Would you rather play for the Diamondbacks, or would you rather try to figure out what the hell went wrong with the Cardinals and see if you can help them again? I think it was an easy decision. I'm a little shocked that the Yankees didn't throw a boatload of money at him and try to bring him back to New York instead. But I'm happy for him. I think he's going to be well received in Arizona. I think you guys are going to enjoy him. He was a great competitor in St. Louis, and whatever's clicking for him since they got him from New York, it looked like it was working just fine again when they took on the Giants.
Yeah, I'm just shocked to see that it was the D-backs that did, because like you said, the Yankees with Garrett Cole going down. I mean, the Texas Rangers could still use a Jordan Montgomery in their rotation. So I'm just shocked when you see all these baseball contracts that like go to the final days of free agency. The JD Martinez's who have to wait, first week of the MLB season to
Blake
sign.
Snell.
Yeah, Blake Snell. All these.
Like, what?
And who's his dude? Was he a Scott Boras guy too? I wonder if it's just a referendum on the Scott
Oh,
Boras.
yeah.
Like, those guys want $35 million a year. We're just gonna make them wait to the last day of the season.
Yeah, I guess teams were just like, we're not falling for this again. We're not giving him this monster contract. And yeah, you mentioned that Rodriguez. Like, I were you happy with that signing when it first went down? Because he was a guy I was kind of like, I kind of didn't want him. He just seemed like a risky guy to go after, and unfortunately, the injuries now have caught up to him this year.
Yeah, definitely a risky guy, but I was in favor of the move at the time because he was coming in to be the number 3 starter. And at the time, I thought he was going to start this season healthy. So I was like, I know about the health risk, but we'll cross that bridge when we got there. When we get there, the bridge, it came before the season even started. So that we already knew about the injury risk with Erod. They were realized immediately from the start of the season, but listen, if he comes back mid-season and the D-backs are cruising their way, maybe not cruising, but look like a playoff team, and then you add in Erod to be your number 4 starter, like the depth of your rotation at that point is just so much strong. And even if Erod never gets it together, you still have a guy in Brandon Pfaadt to be your number 4 starter. Of course, the Erod contract would get kind of blown up at that point, but maybe for this season, he becomes your number 5 starter in the postseason. Then we revisit once again when he has a fully healthy season under his belt in 2025.
Well, Cardinals fans are probably going to throw up if they see 2 former guys in Zach Gallen and Jordan Montgomery lead you to the World Series again in the National League, because that's all they need is to see another former Cardinal succeed and just, be awesome. And it seems to have happened a lot. And the Diamondbacks have cashed in on that with what's going on with Zach Gallen being their ace now. So Monty revenge game on Wednesday, possibility. We shall see. Any final thoughts on Monday's game?
Yeah, just want to erase that one from my memory because that was awful to see. Hate to see your team get walked off. So hopefully the D-backs can take everything that they felt in Monday's game and put it toward a redemption effort in game number 2 and game number 3.
All right. Well, once again, thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. If you haven't, go ahead, give our man Miller Thomas a follow. Once again, throw that handle at him, buddy.
At Creator Thomas 24 for the personal account. Look up Locked On Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. And please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube.
Yes, do that. Like and subscribe as well for Locked On Cardinals. And you can also follow me at JD Sports Radio. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and we will see you next time. Millard, fantastic talking to you today, man. Enjoy the rest of the series, buddy.
You too, sir.